Hey guys, Paul Morrow here again for Obsess.org, doing the big news recap for Monday, 30 June. A lot going on. Here we go. First of all, another big lawsuit from Donald Trump's DOJ. They are suing LA over its sanctuary city status, alleging that LA is treating federal law enforcement in a discriminatory and disparate way. They're treating other law enforcement better than they're treating the feds, and also under the supremacy clause, the idea being that federal law enforcement is supreme over the state and locals, and that is in the Constitution. Now, there are legal issues involved here, etc., but while I am sure there's a whole army of lefty lawyers who just want to sniff at this case, they're the same lawyers who said that the cases that just went to the Supreme Court that Donald Trump won so resoundingly, same people told us that those were frivolous. You gotta love it. They're fighting. This DOJ is fighting, fight, as Donald Trump said, and they're bringing the big cases that have to be resolved. And I hope if this one goes all the way up to SCOTUS, so be it. You know, the Kavanaugh concurrence in the recent nationwide injunction case at SCOTUS said we may have to step up and take more cases at an emergency level on an emergency docket. Good. Get this stuff resolved. Sanctuary cities, there are issues there constitutionally. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. They may not get everything they want, but if you can get a decision on this, that'll, nationwide, big impact. More power to them. Fight. I agree with it. Number two, Mohammed Suleiman. This is the nut job that took the flamethrower to a bunch of Jewish people who were just congregating, had a procession in a park in Boulder, Colorado. One of those victims died. All right. Now that person, Mohammed Suleiman, is facing both state and local charges, federal charges, but the federal charges have been the hate crime. Well, now you got a death. And if you got federal jurisdiction, you can bring the federal murder charge just like they brought against Mangione. Why does it matter? Death penalty. I know a lot of people have misgivings about the death penalty. I don't always love it either, but I got to tell you, if there was ever a case, you got a guy on film taking a flamethrower to a bunch of people just because they're Jewish, and he burns an elderly woman to death. F this guy. Put him under the jail until it's time to execute him. All right, let's move on. Trump going tomorrow to Alligator Alcatraz, middle of the Everglades. Brilliant. All right, first of all, kudos to Florida. They got this thing. They whacked it right up, man. They built this thing fast. It's a big complex. What I'd like to see happen, first of all, publicize the hell out of it, because what a disincentive. You already have 1 million people who self-deported. You know, nobody's going to come here if you see that thing. You don't want to get stuck in that thing as a migrant. So it's a very good disincentive for illegal immigration, number one. Number two, I'd like to see an immigration court put right out there. Put a couple immigration judges literally out there to expedite all of this. And you're going to need good law to expedite all this. You got 10, 12 million that we got to get out of the country. You want them out under the Trump administration because 2030 is the next census. And that's what's really in play here. If you can get these people out, the census is going to look a lot different next time, and it's going to favor the conservatives. That's why the left is losing their minds about it. But you got to get the big, beautiful door going as well. So let's get that going, because we need legal, vetted migrants. We need them to work. We need them for the social services to prop up Medicare and Social Security. We need all of that, but we got to do it right. And that puts the lie to what the Biden administration and Mayorkas did. Let's move on real quick. DOJ, again, kudos are due. Great takedown. $14.6 billion on medical fraud. It looks like they took doctors, nurses, pharmacists, the whole vertical infrastructure of medical fraud. I'm sure a lot of Medicare stuff, Medicaid. I used to see a lot of this here in NYPD. Apparently, in this instance, the perps are Russians, Eastern Europeans, and some Pakistanis in the mix. There's a lot of this going on around the country. I used to see it, and it was barely enforced against. It used to make me crazy. NYPD had a unit that used to do just nothing but this. It was mostly running against Russian wise guy crews, and they used to tell me we are a drop in the bucket compared to what these people get away with. Love this. Keep going with this. And you know what? Maybe Medicare doesn't need to get bailed out. Finally, Linda Sun, who was the deputy chief of staff for Kathy Hochul, just rearrested on a $44 million COVID fraud charge. Nobody vetted this woman to see that she was living in this mansion that's worth like $3.5 million in a gated community on Long Island. $44 million COVID fraud. And this is on top of the fact that she's got the 5 charges relative to being an unregistered agent of China and the Chinese Communist Party. She used to work for Andrew Cuomo as well. What is it with them and Chinese spies? I talked about it in this week's writing on the Ops Desk. You got Swalwell and Fang Fang, Dianne Feinstein's driver, 20 years, Andrew Cuomo, and his Asian liaison, Hunter, and the Chinese spy. Dems love spies. Paul Morrow for the Ops Desk.